council meeting for this evening. In attendance with us today is Councillor Link from Ward 1, Councillor Bassetti from Ward 2, and Councillor Craig from Ward 4. And Councillor Kleiber will not be in attendance today as per the Provincial Appeals Director ruling of May 27th, 2022 and Resolution 2022-204. Councillor Kleiber is suspended from council until after this meeting tomorrow, July 15th, 2022, and pending completion of sanctions for various code of conduct violations, including sections 6.1A, 6.1D, 7.4A, 7.5A, 7.5C, and 7.5D, and violations including a breach of confidential information, Municipal Act sections 152.3 and 83.1D. Thank you. I will open up our meeting with a resolution. Be it resolved that the meeting be called to order and that the agenda be adopted as circulated. Mover Councillor Bassetti, seconder Councillor Link. Any questions regarding the agenda? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the questions. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. On our agenda for this evening is RM Business Park land, and that went out as an expression of interest, number 2022-2, and we have presentations for council this evening. I'm going to turn it over to our CAO to review how we got to this point with the business land that the municipality owns. Mr. CAO.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, and hello to council today. I'll start off with previously Resolution 2021-499 has given the RMOS St. Paul declared, we called it property to in a resolution for the business park, and further that the sale of this surplus land be administered by the CAO, and further that the money from the sale of these surplus lands be deposited in the General Reserve Fund. We put out a sorry, putting my face in the camera. We put out an expression of interest, and it was advertised in the paper on Merck's and a number of different places. So it was at 10.47 acres. It's zoned A80. There's no services, and we sent out an expression of interest, and we wrote a number of pages for terms of reference what we're expecting in response. And in response, we had 8 responses, and we'll show those later. But before I start, I just want to show council what this property had looked like at one time. If Lainey can bring that up. So there you see at one point underneath this, where it's split into 2, you see all those boxes there. There's like little lanes that run. I'll call it vertical on here. It's not really, and then boxes. We had all these properties. They were basically worthless. The tax bills were, I know on some of them, $10 a year. And there was a number of properties here. A majority of them were owned by one family. There was 5 members of the family, and they would call the RM and go, what are we going to do with this land? We can't do anything with it. We don't have road access. The pieces are so small. And we had lanes that were very narrow shown, and these were from the early 1900s, these drawings and lanes. So we worked with this group to consolidate and put all these titles under the 2 boxes that you see here. So that project took almost a decade to bring to a conclusion. We had to go, well, I had to go to, and I'll be brief on this because my council has heard this before. There was one property I had to go to just past Duluth, Minnesota, to get them to sign off and sell us the property, and it was for $10,000 because it was smack in the middle of all this, and you couldn't consolidate with that property in the middle. You could see 2 properties in the yellow there now that we were never able to connect with anyone to purchase those properties. The rest were all one family. There was most of those boxes a couple were the RMs. So we ended up with properties that were worthless and couldn't be developed. And working with Red River Planning, working with our lawyer, Maria Grande, and working with this family, we were able to split the property into 2 pieces. And the larger piece is about 20 acres. It's been sold to a developer now. And so the family has left us. They're very happy. They were able to sell their land. And now the property, the 10.37 acres, where we really had nothing in this parcel, nothing that of any value we could sell. And now we have 10.37 acres. We put it up for an expression for interest, as council gave me the duty to do so. And I would like to bring up the 8 bids we got. Lainey will bring those up. So the master of the controls is in another room for putting documents on.
Need one more moment to pull up those.
And this is a comparison. So we had 8 bidders. They range from $1.5 million was the highest bid, and the lowest bid was $500,000. So there you see the bids from highest to lowest. And what we did is we asked the 3 highest bids to come and present. And then one of the other bids owned land around the property. So we felt that we should hear from them too, seeing that they held land all around the property. And you know, if they had any ideas or for council to hear. So out of the top 3 bids, we had the first 2 for 1.5 million and 1.261 million. Both have withdrawn from the bidding process, so they will not appear today. So we've sent out and we invited them, and they've both decided that that they didn't want to participate anymore. So we have Garcia Holdings with their bid of 500,000. They will be up and they're going to tell council, and they're going to tell who's ever watching in the community. They're going to tell what their bid entails. So, you know, what would they do? How would they get to this property? About their bid, about properties they own, the potential for us here, and you know, their timelines, etc. So we asked them, bring your bid and presentation to council so council can visualize what you're going to do. So they'll be on first, and then JMT Holdings, their bid is $1,088,888. They will present second. The order I picked them to present was from low to high when we asked them to present, and the 2 highest bidders are not participating anymore. So I will hand this over to Pam and Lainey over in the control room, and they will bring the first presentation will be by Garcia Holdings.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. I will bring in Mr. Garcia now.
They're just logging in now. There we go. And I'd want to welcome Dan Garcia and want to thank them for submitting a bid. And Dan, we'll hand it over to you.
Okay, can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting us here. I don't know if I don't see my camera. You guys see me, or is there a way to, when second, please. There we go. Hi. How you doing? Could I just ask if this is now, are we now, I guess, public or? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I gotta shut that off. Okay, and sorry, is there other participants in here? Oh, okay. Very good. Okay, then I won't spend any more time on that. Just wanted to show everybody what, or tell everybody there isn't as much. It was a little bit of a short timeline in preparing as far as presentations, but we have quite a bit of knowledge and information about the area. And I just wanted to explain the some of the ideas and the potential that this property could have, and not as not looking at it as an individual piece, because it's not sure if it's known to everybody. I mean, everybody in the room, I'm sure, but others. But it is essentially landlocked, and there's no official public roadway to it. So, in looking at this property, we were of the opinion that it's really a smaller piece of a greater picture. It's maybe to start, I'd like to show you guys, it was in the package, but maybe a better shot of some of the surrounding lands that we believe that it could be an integral part of. If I could get this screen up. Okay. Can I ask, what are you seeing my shared screen yet, or just my camera?
It's your camera.
Okay. Sorry, you guys got to bear with me. I'm not great at this, and I'm here with Dino trying to wing it as far as using Zoom. You guys are pros. I'm rookie with this. So what I want to do is just put a couple of PDFs on here quickly. This one, Dino? Okay, so anything I put on here? Okay, so on this overall, that's what you see now is the overall plan of the industrial park, business park, or no? Yeah, sorry, you're
You can see that.
yeah, okay, so I sometimes your sound's coming through and sometimes it isn't. Sorry. So anyways, looking at this, the yellow properties are the ones that Garcia Holdings has right now. There's one at the top, sort of the northwest corner that isn't on here, but that's not important to this layout. And the reason this property becomes important in sort of a greater picture of development between this north, is my mouse showing up as well, or just the okay, sort of the between this north. John's been acquiring the property moving north here. This one's all bare. The west end of this one would be the next area developed, and then the one to the south here, which runs from St. Paul all the way to Second. Now, this property in between, we see it as an integral part of a north-south connection between them. And as far as a road network and development, we think that's very important to the business park, you know, as well as us as the developers, because, and it was mentioned in the package, the Merritt Crescent has a dead end there, as we know, and it needs to be connected somewhere. Now, this property at the south end of it, which has a partial strip, which ERM has, of about 25 feet, needs more to turn it into a proper road. We thought that with this property here, that would be a good part of negotiating this section of land, which could run east-west to whatever extent, whether it was all the way to Second Street, but certainly up to Merritt, and then connecting this property could start to finish. Because I mean, truly, when you look at the business park now with this road, you could see that it was an idea that started, but it's really unfinished. Now, more support to that, I'll just quickly show you another concept of roadways that we had. Now, looking at this drawing, what we had is showing that road as an idea where this could connect into this property, where you could have additional buildings as one with a private road or individual lots, which could continue then to the north property and to the south. Now, further to that, show you one more here. This one here. So there's already a road that goes through this 100 St. Paul Boulevard property and all the way to Second Street, but it's a private road at this point that we utilize from Second and through this property. Where the gray is here, that's already existing. This section is ours and private, but it does connect to Merritt. So now we could start to see that you can actually, you know, with only one property owner having all these, you could start to develop, you know, a road network here that we think is critical, you know, to kind of finishing this business park in a sense. And I think it's a great thing that the RM did finally assemble all this, because that wouldn't have been possible with the number of pieces that were in there. And the more owners, because it has been tried in the past with the business park, the more owners you have, the more difficult it becomes to get everybody on the same page and agreement with what can and should be done here. I'm just going to compare this to show you quickly what what could be done further. And what we were thinking here is basically trying to look at what's been adopted already, which is a secondary plan for the business park, where this idea was originally shared, but it truly became impossible with the number of different people that it would that you would have to put together to assemble an idea like this. So when you look at this one, trying to get a bit of a north-south road connection, this could easily continue through, because again, Garcia Holdings has this property, and I could share with you guys now that this other strip here where Keller is, he's acquiring as well. So that could allow this road to continue through it and then connect into Eames Road. Now, where this has been done and shown before, we have, I just want to bring up the, which you guys are, may or may not recall. This is a page from the secondary plan that was developed from Lombard North. And this is kind of the idea that they had early on to try and actually develop this business park and finish it in a sense. Now I understand that it doesn't have to have anything like this as far as the number of lots, the configuration, but it's a simple idea that at the time Dave, rest his soul, was thinking and agreed that a network of roads has to be completed in here. Now you could see this one here, he called it first, coming right through north-south, and then that's exactly where it was coming through this subterranean now Keller property connecting to Eames. And then here we have the other connection I was talking about that has to go through this property. So really all of this idea could really come to fruition because of this one property acquired by the person who happens to have all these other ones surrounding it, which happens to be Garcia Holdings. There's also a couple of more immediate connections that could be done because this corner property here he also acquires, and that could easily be a short road right off of Merritt. But again, I truly believe, and we truly believe, that this property is not something to be looked at as a one-off and a single development with try to get in here and get out of it, and that's where it ends. We believe it's a huge integral part of a bigger picture and idea, and everything's got its value. We understand that, but the value of this being a key component to developing much larger acreage and a much larger tax base behind that, we think really truly should be considered, because 10-acre parcels, they're not necessarily a dime a dozen, but one-offs with a road, yeah, they are. But this to us basically a donut hole in the middle of all this, and it's not going to be fully explained or agreed to between us in a 20-minute meeting. This is obviously a much bigger discussion. I think a sit down and with some commitment and more detailed ideas. But if you could understand from our part, it's acquiring this and then getting to that position where obviously now you could start to truly look at what potential this has. So when I look at something just simply like this layout, yes, that's kind of what we would have in mind, but please understand that it wouldn't just be the development of this property. It would also be integral in developing the rest of this. Now, as far as the type of development and the standard, I just want to share that we've always had, I think one of the highest standards as far as the quality of build and the type of development that I think West St. Paul should always have and deserve. There's, we've got a number of examples of that, including, let's say I got a couple of pictures. Most of you guys are definitely familiar with what we have already, but this is what we call a concrete tilt-up building, this is what the type of buildings that we like to develop and encourage, because they're of the highest quality. Basically, it's, you know, concrete as the number one, then steel, and then wood structures, which really aren't ideal in a commercial or industrial setting. They just don't have the long-term. They don't have the long-term kind of wear and tear that you need in, and they start to look dilapidated, and they might look great, you know, day one, but the question is always, how's it going to look in 10 years and 20 years? This building here, as an example, and we know it's been used, you know, in some of the other good buildings that have started to develop in the back here. As we've talked to the people who've done it, has been used as an example of one of the best quality buildings you could try to put up in an industrial business park. Terracon Developments is another good example, and that's kind of the vision that we would have here, where they've, I think actually every single one of theirs is concrete tilt-up buildings, and they create like a private business park, like the one off Dugald and the one in Tuxedo. That's exactly what we would picture here. And you have to have you have to have the ability to dictate, you know, what goes on around and on the majority of that property to do that. Those developments have private roads that are maintained by them, and they've had control over all the buildings that have been put up there. So that's one of the best examples that we can actually direct anyone to go look at. The Tuxedo Park there off of Keniston. You guys know which one I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. So you can't do that in, you know, small 5-10 acre parcel. You need, you know, you need the acreage to be able to put in the fountains, the boulevards, you know, the higher level of development and space, and integrate all of it. So the other one, one of the more recent ones I could point to that we've done is 900 Lorimer. Let's quickly show you guys that one, if you don't mind. How are we doing for time? Oh boy. Sorry, I get you guys.
Let's go with 5 more minutes for presentation, and that's a little longer than we were going to do, and then we can do some questions after that. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So anyways, this is another example of those buildings. We finished this one just last year. It's at 900 Lorimer, and these owners are actually looking at the same thing. They're starting a business park on McGilvery with about 40 buildings in mind, but again, they have the acreage, they have the control of the property in order to do that, and that includes the roads and the road network that's needed in there. So I won't, again, I think you guys are, we could, you know, find out after the fact all the buildings we've worked on here, whether they're steel buildings or the concrete ones, but it's more about the accessibility to the property and the infrastructure, the roads, and the ability to even be able to do this. Honestly, the property like this, I don't see how it should be considered for anyone other than adjacent property owners, you know, being landlocked like that. And guys, it was, you know, it was just put in a number and get it in, and you know, is that the perfect number? Is that the right number? I mean, we were just hoping that there could be further discussion in all that, and there's value in the fact that yes, this land is expected to be part of the road to connect here, and that, you know, that can only be had by the property owner of that land to be able to give that, and then in exchange for being able to purchase this. So I'll leave it at that for now, and then yeah, if there's more specific questions on this.
We'll let the mayor take over now and for the meeting from here and until she needs me about the report again.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. I will go around the table. Thank you, Mr. Garcia, for coming in and presenting. It's important for council and it's not necessarily something that we normally do on all tenders or on all EOIs that we don't do very often. But it's important for council to understand what's going on here. And you made the point and absolutely agree how important this land is and how important the business park is to us and how it needs to be done correctly. So I'm really thankful that you're here and presenting for council today. I'm going to go around our council table and see if there are questions for you. And I will start with Councillor Prague. Councillor Prague, any questions for Mr. Garcia?
Yes, Mr. Garcia. If you acquire this land, is there any immediate structure you want to put in this land? Is there any immediate things you'll do, like a building or things like that?
Yeah, well, the first thing we'd have to do is immediately start an actual road connection to it, because we're not even entitled to a permit without that. So even subdivision of a property that doesn't have a public road is I think questionable, but yeah, that would be the first thing, which I know doesn't take you know, one meeting to do, is get the access to it, and then yes, immediately thereafter. Now, if it was, you know, the fact that it's adjoined to another and we could do that, then we could look at that as well. But I think the first thing would be planning of the road network to it, and then ensuring that it could be built on.
I think that's,
And then we'd have a way more detailed plan, you know, something like this secondary plan, but in more detail with a layout of buildings.
so what I'm gathering, Dan, is the infrastructure have to be there, and well-planned infrastructure first before anything goes in there. Am I correct?
Absolutely, in our minds, yeah.
Thank you, Dan, very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Bersetti, any questions for Mr. Garcia?
Not really a question, just more comment. It's good to see that you have some different plans for connecting the industrial park. You know, it's been a lot of years and you've been in there since the beginning. So, you know, it's kind of been little pieces here and dead ends back and forth. It's good to see that you've been looking at the entire picture of it, looking at this piece of land. You used it yourself, the donut hole in the middle. And that's it. It's just good to see how you've thought of ways of incorporating this to attach the whole place. That's all I got to say. Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks, Council.
Councillor Link, any questions for Mr. Garcia?
Yes, but I concur with Councillor Bersetti and Councillor Prague that the infrastructure, of course, Mr. Garcia himself, the infrastructure, the roads have to come first in order to make the connections. So you're going to use that piece of land to connect with other properties. And I'm wondering if you have thought of the uses. Would it be M2 uses or M1 uses? Because there's those particular zonings north of you and south of you. And east, there's M1, west is M2. So you got a real different zoning picture in front of you too. Had you thought about the uses that you would put this land to other than to provide connections?
Yes, and I think it's also a long time coming where possibly even in the secondary plan, one of the items that was almost mandatory from Lombard is look at a new zoning bylaw section that's specific to the business park. So At best, I would say an M1 would be plenty, but we could also look at, something even more specific, maybe even between a commercial and an industrial, because our zoning bylaw, it's pretty dated. It doesn't have a lot of specifics. And if we read into that plan, there's an opportunity where, we'd be all for that, to have good control and good standards, is to have more specific zoning bylaw requirements. But instead of trying to just deal with it in a DA or whatnot, but yeah, at best I could see it like an M1 type of. I think M2 should be very specific to where it goes, and more careful, because it doesn't need to be the widest open sort of scenario. It's we see it as a more sort of again, I'll go back to the Terracon development, sort of really nice looking front, beautiful curb appeal, that standard of building. So that, that could fit into even a commercial zoning. So if that makes sense, Councilor?
Yes, it sure does. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. A couple of questions from me, a couple comments. First, I'm really pleased on some of the things that I hear about connectivity. That's really important for us. It's really something that's come out of the strategic plan, and I know that you guys value that as a business in your area there. And so I really like to hear that. It's not just about yourselves, but how that part can connect better. So I do like to hear that. And quality, we really like to hear that too. And this council's been really committed to how we can address issues in the business park that have not been addressed for a really long time for lots of reasons, funding from the province and Eames belonging to the city of Winnipeg, and how we keep moving forward. So what you're wanting to do in this parcel coming up, and it taking years for the CAO to bring that together and consolidate, and all the legal and all of the planning involved, the timing couldn't be more perfect, with lights going up for 4.4 million, 200 meters of paved road on Eames for everyone in the business park. And then we budgeted 300,000 for upgrades for existing businesses, including you guys in there. So the timing couldn't be better to try and connect with roads and keep moving that forward. So I'm excited by any proposal I'm hearing here to not just have land sit there. And the other issue is the value of it, right? Of what these things do to increase value. So a couple questions from me. One, in terms of the bid that was submitted, would it be the amount that you guys bid and then you would take responsibility and do the roads? Is that what you guys would be bringing to council? So here's the purchase of the land, and that you would assume, once it's approved by council, all responsibility for the build, the cost of bringing in those roads and having that connectivity?
Yes, yeah, typically, yeah, that's what we would expect, depending on, but I think we'd have to talk a little more specifically about which road. Like if we're talking about the road, the most obvious road, I got a picture of, what it's left as now, which we all know, but the one from St. Paul to there, that one, we could talk about that one, but any other roads, yeah, that would be part of the development. Yeah.
Myself off mute. Thank you. That's good to know. That helps. The other question then would be in terms of timeline, whatever we're trying to do and sell here, we're obviously wanting to move forward. What would you guys be looking at for a timeline? And obviously there'd be having to come to council to create roads, create subdivision. And so next council will obviously have a role and input in what's going on here. What would you guys be looking at for a timeline?
Well, yeah, same thing. Now on development and timeline, the other thing I should have mentioned is, our huge interest in also sewer and water and bringing that into here. So that would play a big part on how this can be developed also. Because if there could be water, there could be sprinklers, there could be hydrants, that's another game changer. And that's, that's where I think we should be. Like that's the level of development we should be looking at. Not just a gravel field with a pole building, no disrespect, but that's just not the same standard of development. And that's what could happen, you know, if someone gets a piece of property and they're struggling to develop it as cheap as possible, that's what you could get, and that's good enough, you know, for that one user. But it does nothing for your future and development of the park. So timing, Madam Mayor, would be, you know, fairly immediate as far as, because the process, this is not zoned, if I'm correct, right? Because it's not zoned yet. So yeah, there's a number of steps and drawings and plans that have to be drawn up. So it should start this year, you know. Sorry, you're muted there.
There we go.
Okay.
Thank you for that. That helps as well. And on some of the things that you brought forward, I like how you talked about possibly connecting merit. And so how this benefits existing businesses within there. You guys have a lot of holdings in there and lots of land, but all of the businesses that are in between, how would it improve traffic flow for them? So I like that you brought that up, that there's that potential to extend that, because then in terms of traffic, you know, there's a continuous flow coming in and going out in a different way, making it easier for everybody that's doing business in there. So I like that you brought that forward. Lots of connectivity, which I like to see. Thanks. Those are all my questions. I'm glad that you were able to be here and to present to council. It gives us a better picture of what you guys would want to do, what you own, and how there could be greater connectivity in there. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much, council. And I honestly hope we could spend more time talking about this.
Lainey, can we bring the next presenter in, please?
Yes, one moment.
Am I out then? Right? Okay, bye you guys. Take care. Thank you very much. If I figure out how to cancel myself, I will.
Hi, everyone.
There we go.
All right. Can I do a screen sharing just to show a presentation? All right. Let's go. I believe right here. All right. So thank you, Council and Administration, for the opportunity to hear our presentation with respect to the development of the parcel of land in question today in the business park. As you know, I'm Jennifer Lim, and I'm here to introduce the expression of interest made by DGB Holdings and Tex Group. So as you know, I am a registered professional planner. I was the community planner in Red River Planning District from 2014 to 2019, spent roughly 2 of those years as your community planner. And in the private sector now, I've taken on municipal contracts, as well as I work for private sector developers. So my representation of this expression of interest doesn't produce any conflict of interest. My role today is to present the planning information on the subject land and to highlight some important considerations in terms of the overall development. So first, we'll provide an overview of the interested parties that created the expression of interest, being the companies owned by Mr. Tony Berganini and Mr. Tony Texera. Then we'll review the proposal before you, and then we'll discuss some of the benefits to the expression of interest. And finally, we will summarize our proposal before council for your consideration. So first, let's start with a brief overview of the interested parties. I'll turn things over to Mr. Tony Berganini and Mr. Tony Texera to introduce themselves, their companies, and to provide some examples of development done here in your business park.
Am I on? Okay. Thanks everybody for taking the time to listen to our presentation today. So I'm Tony Berganini. I'm the president of DGB Holdings. The company was founded in 2013. Its primary business activities is the purchase and development of property within Winnipeg, the surrounding areas, but most recently, predominantly, we are well established in the RM of West St. Paul Business Park. DGB Holdings, as you know, has done a subdivision, actually 2 subdivisions in the industrial park. One involves a 4-lot subdivision, which is not the most recent, but the latest one that we did. And that one houses a couple of companies that I'll refer to later on in the sketch or in the presentation. The second one is a 10-lot subdivision, which is our most recent one, and that was in conjunction with JMT Holdings. That subdivision is completed, and all properties have been sold. I think we sold the last one in 2020. I also will talk about the 58 2nd Street, which is a new construction, which was done by DGB. We'll talk about 42 2nd Street, which is an outdoor storage facility. One is occupied by United Rentals, and we'll talk about 42 2nd Street, which is occupied by Obi-Wan. Tony, you there?
Tony's joining us from Portugal. So
I apologize. I had to unmute. I apologize. Can everybody hear me? Hello?
yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Council, and for the opportunity to present tonight, and good evening to everybody. The Text Group is comprised of a group of companies with a long and storied history in West St. Paul and neighboring municipalities, including the city of Winnipeg. We're amongst the biggest infrastructure groups in Manitoba and had probably been serving the municipality and the other municipalities in the area since 1977. We've always provided prided ourselves in providing a high level of service to all our partnering municipalities. Since establishing our main headquarters at 3000 Main Street back in 1987 in the arm of West St. Paul, we have continued our investment in West St. Paul, arm of Springfield, and the city of Winnipeg. We've continued our investment in, or we've continued to attract businesses and residents alike through our developments, of both business and residential. Our unique ability to self-perform both land development and a major key element, which is the infrastructure works, I think gives us an edge over others. We have been continuing to work very closely with West St. Paul, and we want to continue that partnership into the future to address and to strive to compete and allow West St. Paul to compete in an ever-changing market. JMT Holdings has been involved in the West St. Paul and the 4-lot subdivision in the business park. We've been along with DGB in the 10-lot subdivision, which was fully developed and has already been is in the process of developing buildings. JMT is also recently purchased a 24-acre parcel, which is directly adjacent to the subject property that we're speaking of today. We in the past have done projects throughout West St. Paul, such as infrastructure and development of Whistler Hollow, joint venture and development of Prairie Meadows, joint venture and development of many industrial and residential subdivisions throughout the city of Winnipeg, East St. Paul, St. Andrews, arm of Springfield, as well as Stonewall. And we've also, back in 2007, created and developed West St. Paul's very first drive-up self-storage facility, which serves the community. All right, so in and around 2019, JMT and DGB registered the above subdivision plan with Manitoba Land Titles, and it was a 10-lot plan with development of 3rd Street and Eames Road.
Okay, this one here is just to provide council an overview. You can see that the slide before that was JMT Holdings. That shows the joint venture there with the 10-lot subdivision. Next to that is MAC Holding, which is now owned by DGB Holdings. And then there's JC Paving. Just of note there, 3rd Street was constructed during this subdivision, and so is Eames Road. We almost, in total, almost have almost 2 kilometers of roadway that was built during that phase for infrastructure purposes, along with all the drainage plans in the area. So It was a big undertaking. It was a big subdivision. And as we move forward in the slides, we'll look at the development that has occurred as a result of that. This one here is Omar's Environmental. Omar is a resident of West St. Paul. He was actually running his business at one time out of his house on Pipeline while he was waiting for some property to be available. He did want to stay in West St. Paul. He was one of our very first clients that came on board. He built a beautiful structure. That's a concrete tilt up. He houses his home base out of there. So moved, his base of working out of his home to the business park. And this is the second development he did just last year. He put up a second concrete tilt-up building. So we have 2 concrete tilt-up buildings. I think he's got a total of 5, almost 6 acres with us. So that shows the degree of development we're bringing in and the people we're attracting. We're trying as best as we can to vet who we bring in because we're invested in that area as we have our own buildings on site. And so we want to ensure what's going on in Industrial Park meets the standards that we expect other builders to have. So this one here, I'll let Tony talk about. This is on WWF Construction.
Yeah, this was also a concrete tilt-up building that was purchased, and since a building has gone up, and those are on lots 6 and 7th on the 3rd Street. The value of the lot went from $215,000 in 2019 to a total assessed value of $2.9 million for the 2023 tax year. So basically in 4 years, the value increased over 13-fold because of the investment WWF made in our lands and in West St. Paul, because they had the ability to purchase land, which we immediately provided infrastructure to, so we can subdivide and sell these lots. And I think that's important that the RM is able to realize an instant tax base from development from these properties.
This property here is owned by DGB Holdings. It's a 4-acre site. This is occupied by United Rentals, which is a global country across North America. They referred to it as a blue chip tenant. So very excited to bring somebody like that into the West St. Paul Industrial Park. It brings up those standards. Companies like that are global, they attract other businesses that want to build around them. So it was key for us to bring some companies in like that. And United Rentals is a great example of that. As they move forward, there is talk of putting up a building there in the near future. So things will expand. That's why it's a 4-acre site, because they want growth and they're committed to staying in the industrial park. So we're very excited. So that's one of the properties there on 3rd Street, which is next to Omar's and across from WWF. So that area is saturated with high-level clients and builds.
So if we have a look at again on 3rd Street, another one of the lots that was sold, a local company by the name of ADR Homes invested in this lot, and they are preparing for bricks and mortar and doing their headquarters out of there. And once it's done, obviously the land, which is now only assessed at $328,500, will shoot up, and again the RM will realize a return on that.
This property, this is also owned by DGB Holdings. This was completed in 2020. It's a steel structure building. It's housed by OB1 Construction, another resident of West St. Paul. Prior to that, he was at Omar's for a brief period of time, but prior to that, he was in the city of Winnipeg. So he was glad that spaces came available in the industrial park, and he jumped on it when he had the opportunity. Again, OB1 is a very well-known company. It's a contracting company within the city of Winnipeg. They do a high level of work. So they also have the lot beside it, which is 42 2nd Street. It's just an extension of 58 2nd Street. And that's for storage of their equipment, because they have such quite a large company there. So aside from the building, they also have a storage facility there. So another client from West St. Paul, and I'm very lucky to have him within the industrial park also.
We switch over to 22nd Street. It's one of our buildings there. Was the first one that we put out on that site. It's a steel structure, and with the development of the building, our anchor tenant, which takes roughly half the building, is a national company by the name of Green Drop, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. And when we have a couple of other tenants such as Pacific Trucks and Orem Trucking, which is their local firms, which also have residents that live in West St. Paul. Going over to a more recent one on 2nd Street, this is a multinational company took this building over in its entirety as soon as they saw the building being framed. When we look at the values at the 2017, had an assessed value of $250,000 roughly. For the 2023 tax year, the value now is around $3 million. And again, just a good example of how the municipality realizes a good return with immediate development. Switching over to 201 Eames Road, this building is basically now accounted for. We're developing the interior of the building right now. There's already one tenant that has moved in. By the end of the year, beginning of 2023, it will also be full. And again, the same story will be reassessed. There will be businesses in there that will be paying business tax, etc.
All right, so thank you, Tony and Tony. I'd like to walk council now through the expression of interest for plans prepared by them. The subject property was formerly a compilation of several titles that were consolidated and subdivided into 2 lots. The western lot had direct access onto 2nd Street and was purchased by JMT Holdings. The lot that is the subject of the expression of interest is highlighted with a yellow polygon and is described in the RFP as being generally located east of 2nd Street and north of Eames Road, is illustrated as the subject property on the attached Schedule A. The RM offering consists of approximately 10.47 acres of vacant land, and both Drury and Addis Avenue to the north and south are undeveloped and do not meet municipal road width standards. Anyone wanting to develop these lands will need to acquire additional lands to widen the existing right-of-ways and then develop the new roads to meet the business park standard. Any development of this property must be consistent with the RRPD's development plan bylaw, and the property is designated as business park in that development plan. As well, it needs to be consistent with the employment lands under the secondary plan bylaw 2011-08. So reference map 2 under the secondary plan shows that all lands in the business park are for employment land development. The West St. Paul Employment Land Secondary Plan is intended to ensure adequate supply of employment land to support local and regional economic development potential and to ensure that it is developed and maintained in a cost-effective and sustainable manner while being able to meet the changing economic conditions for the future. There's little to no conflict of use in the areas designated for employment land development, and the secondary plan indicates that the long-term viability of these land areas will be determined in part by how responsive they are to market trends and fluctuations, their overall attractiveness for future employers and employees, and the diversity of employment that they provide. The property is currently zoned as a 80-acre parcel zone under the zoning bylaw and will require rezoning to either M1 rural industrial or M2 heavy industrial prior to development. Additional development constraints include there's no municipal water or wastewater services available. The property does not front on an all-season road. The undeveloped road right-of-ways located north and south of the property are not of sufficient width to meet municipal industrial road standards that the RM requires a developer to build. A road to the property built to municipal standards that would need to be built before the property could be developed. Therefore, anyone who doesn't own lands contiguous to the subject lands would need to acquire additional lands to develop the right-of-ways. Now, one option for the development of these lands, Tony and Tony had prepared with Barnes and Duncan back on February 2nd of 2022. This is one option that they've had developed, and it shows a 17-lot business park development with an internal road providing access to the subject land. The potential development would include a road built with heavy-duty asphalt, Once constructed, the road would be dedicated to the municipality at no cost and maintained by the two companies until the standard warranty period has been satisfied. It is an estimated value of roughly $700,000 that is not calculated in the expression of interest. This value is above and beyond the bid to purchase the lands. Another advantage to selling the lands to Mr. Texera and Mr. Berganini's companies is the knowledge that they have a plan to develop the land in the immediate future. This will bring industrial development tax revenue into the municipality without delay. Each company has a proven track record of having purchased lands and developed them, instead of leaving them as a holding of land either to be flipped or because the companies aren't ready to develop the lands. Both Tonys believe in bringing business into the municipality and in developing a quality industrial park. And this is very much in keeping with the strategic plan that council and administration worked very hard on. So bringing forward managed growth and financial sustainability. The RM can reasonably expect related tax revenue within 2 years, should the subdivision approval be granted. And it will take time for it to be built to capacity, but this development has the potential of momentum, reflecting the result of development done in the last several years. To give council a monetary context of the land shown on our slides today, the pre-development value was in and around $250,000 per lot. And the post-development assessment was around 2 to 3 million for fully developed lots. For the 17 lot proposal above, if you were to have administration multiply out the industrial mill rate, the estimated portioned tax revenue would be $301,797.60. I actually had help with that because I'm not terribly good at those things. So I have to trust that the person who did this knew what they were talking about. So you're looking at that amount annually for this being developed. There is, of course, education taxes that would be collected on this, and that would be close to $1 million. So that helps to offset the residential tax burden for education in West St. Paul. Currently, the lots might bring in a collected of $3,000 per year in the portion tax revenue, with an additional $5,000 per year for education taxes. So industrial development will increase the municipal revenue nearly 99-fold. And council can rest assured that the level and quality of development would adhere to the policies in place and any development agreement required as part of the subdivision approval. So in summary, both DGB and Tex Group have a collective, 40 plus years of incorporation invested in developing these properties in and around the city of Winnipeg. Their companies are locally based and they have a vested interest in the development of wonderful West St. Paul. They also have an ethic of developing the available lands now so that they can start contributing to the municipal tax base, and the lands will be developed to the standard that West St. Paul expects of their business park. I'm going to turn it back over to both Tonys just to close out with any final commenting remarks, but that's it for me. So I will take questions at the end once the Tonys are both done here. So I'll turn it back over to you.
In closing, council, I would like just to say that we, as a company, myself and JMT, prided ourselves in the industrial park. We've developed development to a standard that we hope that West St. Paul Council is proud of. We try to bring the best that we can into the development, and we're just moving forward. And we're invested in that park, and this new subdivision will just be another part of an extension for myself and JMT. We'll probably build some more buildings on there for ourselves to ensure that that quality within that industrial park is continued and met, and we set those standards.
Yeah, I think it's important to note too, when this expression of interest came out, I think, having this property adjacent to ours, it becomes an important element and crucial to the development of the 24 acres that we have next. In combination, we'll have, a 34 acre development there that we can get the ball rolling with immediately, as Tony was saying. When we looked at the expression of interest, and like we have in the past in other RMs, I know West St. Paul we haven't been involved with one in West St. Paul, but I mean, we always put, when we're looking at it and we put our bid together, we always put our best bid forward at the very beginning. We're not looking for any negotiation tactics after the fact. We're basically looking at putting in a heavy duty asphalt roadway, which I think is the long-term vision for the business park. I think having that stretch of roadway basically kicks off the standard for the business park, and hopefully others follow, and we get the ball rolling with getting that done. I think it's important to note, as Jennifer mentioned already a few times, and Tony did too, is that our primary goal is to get this get the ball rolling with this, and move along and meet with council and see what their preferences are, and have a discussion if need be, and undertake the development of this property, so again, we can continue with the momentum that we've seen here in the last little while.
I want to thank you, Mr. CEO. I want to thank you all for presenting, and we'll see if council has questions, but very thorough presentation, and grateful that you're all here to present to council and answer questions. Gives us a better sense of what you're planning and what's going on there. I will go around the council table, and this time I'll start with Councillor Link. Councillor Link, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. I have driven through the business park a fair number of times. I see the very attractive buildings that you have built, such as Omar's, who's even landscaping the front with trees, which is nice to see. I'm a bit confused by your statement that you said you're not looking for any negotiations, yet you're willing to meet with council for preferences, what preferences they would have. And I don't know, could you clarify what you mean by preferences? And that term matched with negotiations. I'm a bit confused about that. I have another question. Do you own the property that is adjacent to the service road running parallel to 101? That first property on the corner of Eames and the service road, or have you sold it? The reason I'm asking for that is you speak about the quality, and the quality that's going on that land is I gotta say, it's questionable. But I don't know if you may not own that or not. I don't know. Thanks.
Tony, do you want to address that, or I can address that? So the property that Ms. Councillor Link's referring to is not owned by ourselves, so we can move along with that one. I think when we talk about preferences, we talk about, and Jennifer, I think there is another, and just maybe so council's aware, like we gave this some consideration. Maybe can you provide the subdivision with the road that kind of curves out? We thought of a few ideas with Barnes and Duncan. So when we talk about working with council, that refers to the zoning, whether it be M1, M2 commercial highway, and it's going to talk about some roadways. So we thought the best plan for us and then the business park was to put that cul-de-sac in and makes a nice clean package. But we also have preferences of other things that we could look at doing if need be, if we need to connect some roadways. But I'm not sure, Jennifer, do you have that one slide available?
I am looking for it. I apologize that I did take it out of the presentation. I do have this one here. So if I just open that up and then share, it should show. Okay. Give me one moment here. So I'll go to share screen, and I think this is the one. Okay, so you should be able to see another option here. And these may not be the only options available. These were just two different versions that were made back in February. And I think that possibly what Tony was speaking to is that before you make a formal subdivision application, and this has been my experience with many different clients, is that you usually will go to an administration, you might even talk to council and talk about things in general. It's not, securing anybody's support in advance, but what it's talking about is high level things, such as the connectivity, such as the road development and quality, making sure that you meet standards. And to some degree, those things have a bit of a negotiation back and forth. What I think the other part that Tony was talking about in terms of, not negotiating after the fact is that they're putting their best bid forward now. They're not expecting to, say, hey, we're going to give it to you, but do you think you can up your price a little bit after the fact? So I think that's the difference, Councillor Link, between what he was saying about, not negotiating on the price that they're bidding, but then when they come forward with the subdivision, still being open to hearing what the council, what the administration, what the business park might need for connectivity. So hopefully that answers that question.
Councillor Link, any other questions?
No, but what I'm hearing is there's some openness to, if council came up with a preference, M2, M1, there would be some consideration of that. Well, yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, because you'd have to be applying for.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Prague, any questions?
Yeah, I have a lot of questions for both Tonys. All the pictures shown there of the buildings, you guys developed that land and resold the land for those buildings to go up. Am I correct, or you own the building and the land?
No, some of them that we talked about,
Yeah.
OB1 construction on 58 2nd Street, that's owned by DGB Holdings. The tenant in there is OB1. Adjacent property on 42 2nd Street, which is just a gravel parking pad, is also being rented by OB1. United Rentals, that property there in the back on 45 3rd Street, that is owned by DGB Holdings, but currently rented by United Rentals. I believe the property that Tony referred to on his 3 buildings up on 2nd Street and that one on 201 Eames Road, those are owned by JMT Holdings.
I apologize. I'm not sure what I missed here. I apologize, but my internet connection went down. I'm back now. Sorry about that.
That's okay, Tony. I know you're far away. I can.
There's good Wi-Fi. Just the fires are taxing everybody's trying to get a hold of their loved ones here. A lot of fires here, so the internet's a little bit choppy.
Okay, so let's assume.
To be clear, that's not fires in West St. Paul.
No, that's in Portugal. Sorry.
Let's say you got this land and you're going to develop it.
Yes.
Okay, so you're going to do the infrastructure.
Yes.
And you're going to resell the land or put up your own buildings?
Well, we'll probably be a mixture of both. Yeah, there'll probably be a mixture of both.
And you have tenants already. Do you have?
We already have people that have expressed a solid interest in purchasing land and building buildings, and that's something we do vet the people that come forward too, because we do really, I mean, to benefit our own business park and benefit our own interests. We do want people that are going to purchase this and then turn around and develop this in the immediate future. We don't want people sitting on their land.
Okay, and both of you have property in the industrial park.
Correct.
And we know, and I know Councillor Link, that's our ward, and the complaints coming with dust, the dust control, people are always coming up with that, complaining about those roads. And I heard you said something, what's the difference, heavy duty asphalt and normal asphalt?
Okay, so right now in the industrial park, other than that first stretch and what's going to be done now as a result of the intersection coming in down Eames Road, right now it's built to heavy duty standard for gravel roadways. That's the standard that most of it's done in, other than the original section that was done at the very beginning. Now, heavy duty asphalt as opposed to regular asphalt. Normally, a roadway will take anywhere from 2 inches to 3 inches of asphalt throughout, depending on where you are in the city of Winnipeg. And we've seen this created in also commercial developments as well. However, you actually need a good limestone structure below it, along with 4 inches of heavy duty asphalt. And that is basically the standard that the city of Winnipeg uses in their industrial parks.
Yeah, the reason I'm asking you guys those questions is because the heavy equipment that comes out of there onto McPhillips. Am I correct? So
Yeah.
those are, the questions I have, and I'm just worried about the dust control, the road
Sure.
will come out. That
Yeah, and that section of road essentially wouldn't have any dust control needed, and it would be basically headache free for the RM in order to do it.
Yeah, because we're looking at that, for the industrial park, because of the complaints, and every year the road have to be redone.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy machinery in it. When rain falls is another story,
Yes.
in there. And I know all you guys own businesses in there.
Sure, of course.
So that's why I'm asking these questions. I'm not trying to be.
Oh no, I understand fully,
difficult.
and I think, and that's why they made the point. I think by doing this in this section of the newer section of the park, creating probably a heavy duty structure there in asphalt, I think that basically sets a different standard, and hopefully that standard is going to be followed with any future development coming down the road.
Thank you to both guys for answering.
Thank you.
Councillor Bisetti, any questions?
And I have no questions. It's just a good presentation. It's good to see that you're thinking of not only, I guess, for yourself as business developers, but as landowners in the industrial park, with a lot of vested interest in the park, keeping the standards high. Because you have already existing buildings in there, those renters from you, I guess, are expecting the standards to be at that. And just to show that, with the smaller lots that you look like you're putting in there, I think it showed pictures from 1.3 to 2.4-ish, just quickly looking over the stuff. It doesn't look like you're looking at, big construction yards, that kind of stuff. It looks like it's going to be more of your one-off, your plumber's building, that kind of stuff. And I think that's what I think a lot of council has heard, and I've heard it for many years in West St. Paul. And I think all of council, we've all seen it where we're talking people in these small businesses out of their house. We're trying to move them into businesses, and they want to stay in West St. Paul, but they say to us, there's no small properties in West St. Paul that they could do this in. So I believe Tony Texera, you've heard it too at different meetings, other lands that you've rezoned, and it's been brought up in those meetings also. So it's good to hear that you were listening to that. And that's all. Thank you for the presentation, and enjoy your holiday in Portugal.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. A couple of comments from me, no questions from me. You guys did an excellent presentation, so thank you for that. Pretty much answered any questions that I would have had coming into this with a detailed presentation. So thanks to both of you and to Jennifer Lim. You guys are quite the Tony dynamic duo here, and I think it was really great to present to council and for residents to see how much has been built up in our industrial park. Our business park dates back decades. And as Councillor Bisetti said, one of the things we hear is, oh, we want a higher standard, we want higher quality. And so you start a business park in a community, it's gravel roads and businesses move in, and good on them that take that up and come in. And how do we move it to the next level? And council can have a great vision and we can have great plans in place, but you guys and other developers like you are able to make that a reality. So we have all of those amazing businesses in there. And the buzzwords that I love to hear: return on investment, tax assessed value, because that matters to all of us. That's every taxpayer in West St. Paul, every resident, every family that benefits from you laying the foundation, building the road, creating that space for business, and then creating a standard that's high enough that those buildings that you showed us, $3 million tax value, I believe, if I recall correctly, and the CAO can correct me if I'm wrong, that when he was amalgamating pieces of those parcels, it was like $7,000 an acre. And what you've presented to this council is $100,000 an acre, I believe, an additional 700,000 to put roads in there that you have experience doing. So, wow. So you've created such high standards in the business park that now when you come in and apply for land in that area, it's almost harming yourselves because you've created such good value in the buildings that you've built that in order to purchase more land and do what you're doing now, you're paying for it. But you know, I thank you for that, because that's how things get done. And that's how those standards, we can say that we want good standards, but the buildings that you've put in and required tenants to move into. So I'm really pleased with that. I love the comments that you've made about partnerships, and that's how we move things forward. You both know about the lights, a $4.4 million partnership investment on Eames and McPhillips that's really going to attract for your area, for your businesses, and should this be accepted, even greater value. So really excited about that, in addition to our 300,000 investment to improve roads in there already. I like that you talk about standards and value. I like that you talk about employment. So we didn't watch the CAO bring this land together and bring all of the land parcels together to have it sit empty, or to have it be a storage yard that doesn't bring tax value, that doesn't bring employment. So we love to see people coming to West St. Paul who are working here, who are living here, and truly completely invested in our community. Nothing makes me happier than that they build and move. And so to see local companies like both of you who live here and work here and build opportunity for others to come, I'm quite excited about that. Love your timeline. Love that you'd come back and talk about how that would work in the roadway. So that's all I can say, just really positive about the presentation that you guys have brought to us, and to thank you for what you've brought to our community so far. People should be very impressed by what they've seen here today.
Thank you.
Mr. CO, if there's anything else that you're wanting to add, otherwise we'll thank our presenters.
No, I just want to say that both presenters today are outstanding local businesses, and both dynamos, in my mind, that are making West St. Paul a leader in the capital region. And you know, without our private sector people, we wouldn't be the 10th fastest growing community in West St. Paul. I understand what the private sector does, and these both of these companies today are a pleasure to work with.
Well, thank you all. Thanks, Jennifer Lim and the two Tonys. Very much appreciate you presenting and clarifying for council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right, with our presentations behind us for this evening, we're going to move in camera and talk about the proposals that were submitted. I will read the resolution to take us in camera. Be it resolved that in accordance with section 152.3 of the Municipal Act, council now do move in camera to discuss matters that are in preliminary stages, and respecting which discussion in public could prejudice the municipality's ability to carry out its activities or negotiations. And further, be it resolved that in accordance with section 83(1)(d) of the Municipal Act, any issues that are discussed are kept confidential until discussed at a regular meeting of council. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Bracetti, seconded Councillor Link. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Thank you. We will go in camera. All right, thanks everyone for your patience for waiting for council to come out of camera. Good discussion. Council talked about RM Business Park Land, EOI number 2022-2, and we do have a resolution coming out of camera that I will read now. Be it resolved that Council of the Rural Municipality of West St. Paul authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to proceed with the sale of the surplus land located in the business park as described in Expression of Interest 2022-02 to the highest bid submitted by JMT Holdings Inc. and DGB Holdings Limited in the amount of $1,088,888.88 and additional construction of a heavy-duty asphalt road. And further, that the mayor and CEO be authorized to sign the conditional sale agreement prepared by the municipality's legal counsel. And further, that the money from this sale of this surplus land be deposited in the general reserve fund. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Braccetti, seconded Councillor Link. Any further discussion?
Recorded vote, please.
Request for a recorded vote. Hearing and seeing no further discussion, I will call for the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Can I have a mover to adjourn our council meeting? Moved by Councillor Braccetti, seconded Councillor Prague. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. And we'll see you in 5 minutes at the next council meeting.